For your ADU to generate an income, it of course has to be rented to a tenant. And so that is the big question. Are you ready to be a landlord? So we're going to talk about what that means, what that looks like, and if we should consider hiring a property management group.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, what I find with the clients that I work with is most of them have never actually managed a rental property.
Yeah.
And so they kind of think that it's going to be really simple and easy and that you shouldn't have to pay someone to take care of it. But there are some complexities to it that can really cause some big challenges for you as a property owner and a landlord. First and foremost, there are very specific landlord-tenant laws that you must follow.
Okay.
And if you go outside of those, you can be legally liable for a lot of things.
Gotcha.
And if your tenant knows more about that law than you do, you can be in trouble.
Yeah.
So you really need to understand what's going on with that. Secondly, is you're trying to figure out, how do I keep this maintained and managed and occupied all of the time? And you're working a full-time job. You're also taking care of your family and these other things. And so it may be that, I got a tenant moved out. I really do need to get this advertised and I need to get it rented, but I don't have time to do it today. So it gets pushed off a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And so now your apartment isn't rented for an entire month. Well, guess what? There's $1,800. It's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
So timeliness of problems being addressed become money.
Yeah.
How quickly you can get to them and work through it. And then another side of that is understanding that you're living next to the tenant. And if you've got a tenant that is looking at you as the landlord and your neighbor, you could really have some conflicts.
I don't necessarily want them knocking on my back window with a problem.
That can be one of the problems. When you set up a property manager, you actually kind of set a buffer between you and your tenant and say, gosh, I really understand that you got a challenge with figuring out how you're going to pay rent this month. You need to talk to the property manager.
Yeah.
I'm not the one who sets that. That's the property manager. So you're not going to listen to the sob story, and you're not going to be the one that they blame when they can't pay the rent and then they go to be evicted. So there's some value emotionally to you for that.
Yeah.
Now, what is that going to cost you in money? Because the property manager doesn't do it for free.
What? Okay, I figured not. But
It's typically, you're talking about anywhere from 8 to 10% of the monthly rent is what they're going to charge. So if you were renting out your apartment for $1,500 a month, it's going to be about $150.
Okay.
Okay. But you think, well, gosh, that's a lot of money that's not coming in my pocket. But $150 in 12 months is a little over $1,500, which is 1 month's rent.
Gosh,
and if you didn't rent it for a month because you didn't have the time to do it, you've made that back.
That alone.
The second thing is if you've got a bad tenant, a tenant who is going to basically really not pay your rent and basically camp out before they get evicted, and they're there for 3 months not paying you rent, and you're trying to figure out how to get them out, you've again lost that.
Yeah.
A property manager is on top of it.
Yeah.
You don't make your rent payment, you got basically a 3-day notice and you've got to be paid. By state law, 3 to 5 days, then you're put on notice. If you don't pay it, you're going to get an eviction notice. Within 2 weeks, if you haven't paid it, you're going to be out the door, and we'll have the sheriff there and we'll get it taken care of.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay? They're not emotionally involved in it.
Nope.
Okay. And it's also not in their best interest for it not to be getting paid for.
Right.
Okay. So they're going to make sure that it happens. Secondly, they document everything. Okay. Another real challenge is people who don't take care of the property, and so they damage it. And then there's a big discussion at the end of, well, I'm going to take this out of the deposit because it's damaged.
Right.
They say it was not. It was that way before I moved in. A property manager, a good one, documents everything. The property manager that I use literally comes in before every tenant and takes about 100 photographs of the entire place to put in his database and say, this is exactly the condition it was in prior to your moving in.
Wow.
And this wasn't here. So you're the one that's got to pay for that fix.
Yeah.
There's no argument.
No, there couldn't be.
And I don't have the time, I don't have the means, I don't have the area to actually manage it that well.
Well, I know from what you're saying that having a property management definitely sounds like what I want to do with our ADU. So
if you've been there and done that, it's probably not something you're going to do. But just think about it from the standpoint of, I want an ADU, but I've still got a full life that I've
Yeah.
got to live. And I'm not someone who's going to manage, 30 apartments and that's my livelihood. This is a second income that I really don't have a lot of time to do. I need someone else to help take
Right.
care of that.
Right.
And that's why I always recommend you get a property manager, because it'll make your life much easier. I'm going to give you one last example.
Okay.
I have had my ADU for a little over 3 years now, and typically they sign a 1-year lease to live there. I have yet to have a tenant who has been able to stay through the entire 1-year lease.
Really?
But I have never lost a month's rent.
Wow.
And that is because it wasn't because they didn't. It's like, oh, I got a new job and I need to move to Seattle, or I've got this happening. I'm getting married and I'm going to go. It's not something that they're trying to run out on something, but they call me and say, well, I got to move out because of this. Can you do anything you can do for me? And I just say, I'm sorry, you really got to call the property manager, because that's who you're leasing it from.
Yep.
And then it's not my issue. And the property manager says, well, but you signed a lease that says you're going to pay for this for the entire year. What I can do to help you out of that lease is let's find a new tenant and get them moved in so that we can release you out of that lease and get that into the next thing.
Beautiful.
And what's nice is the property manager already has a list of people who are looking for places to rent. They show it, they get it. So I've never had a tenant that has moved out before I've had a tenant that's ready to move in.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So
that's incredible.
I've now had it for over 3 years and I've never lost a month's rent. That's big to me.
That's big to everyone, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So tell me how people get in contact with you to better understand how to make sure they never lose a month of rent.
Well, there's a couple of ways. One of the things is that if you're looking at how you want to do it and you want to find a good property manager, we actually have a list of people that we've worked with that we recommend that you talk to about becoming a property manager for you. And they can contact that by going to ADU Utah, to our teams section, and literally look under project management for a couple of people that we recommend to be product managers.
Awesome.
If you just got questions in general about it, go ahead and send us an email. And that email is hello@aduyutah.com. So send us an email at hello@aduyutah.com.